I went and spoke to Godfrey Smith at the time.
Wow.
Said, thank you for the opportunity to be and learn and do. And I had offers in Atlanta and Charlotte in banking. And he said, have you talked to anybody here? And I said, no, sir. And he picked up the phone and made a call, and there started my career.
Wow. From Fiore Communications, it's How I Got Here, a show highlighting the unexpected journeys of some of Tallahassee's most interesting people. Everybody has a story worth telling, and I'm grateful we get to share a few of them with you. I'm Dave Fiore, and in this episode, I speak with Jim Hunt, founder of Serve Strong, and a familiar presence in Tallahassee's business and civic community for nearly 3 decades. Jim will tell you he's a relationship person first, and that the job titles just kind of followed. Jim grew up a military kid, moving every 4 or 5 years before his family settled in Melbourne Beach, Florida. He came to FSU planning on law school and then took a part-time teller job at Capital City Bank that turned into a career that lasted 2 decades. Then one thing led to the next, the commercial internet before most people knew what a website was, time in marketing at the Moore Agency and 223, and even a stint helping bring cloud computing to Tallahassee. Along the way, he chaired the United Way of the Big Bend, led Leadership Tallahassee, and served on boards across the city. Not because it was good for business, but because he watched his parents serve their communities growing up. Last year, he launched Serve Strong, a leadership and strategic advisory, and landed his first client before he even told anyone what he was doing. We talk about service, community, and what it looks like to build a career around other people and then figure out what comes next. We started with his thoughts on being born in Germany.
Other than that's where I was born, that's what I know.
Okay.
We left I was 3 months old, and my parents moved back to the States.
Okay.
And at that time, unbeknownst to me, I had 2 older sisters.
Okay. Were you a military family? Did you move around a lot?
Yes. My dad was a colonel in the Army, and we moved Germany, Maryland, Virginia, Hawaii, Pennsylvania, and Florida.
Okay. So what was that like for you as a kid? Were you old enough during some of those times where you had to make new friends and kind of start over a few times?
You know, for me, I look back and it was enjoyable. I don't ever remember focusing on having to make new friends. You had to, but it was just part of life. Every 4, 5 years, you knew we were probably going to move, but I enjoyed it and consider it really fortunate to have lived that life.
Yeah, that's awesome. Right, so you ended up eventually in Melbourne Beach, right? Mm-hmm. So is that kind of what you consider your hometown?
Yes.
Okay. And so what years were you there?
That would have been from junior high through high school.
Okay.
And my dad retired, and we moved down there. And I don't know if you've ever been.
I have. My sister actually lives there now.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
She does. Yeah.
We had the beach on one side, and down the street the Indian River, and north and south on the barrier island. You couldn't get lost.
Yeah, that's great. So, were you a typical high school beach guy? Did you surf and all that kind of stuff?
Yes. And when I had hair, I had red hair. So. Did a number on my skin over the years, but
not best for a fair-skinned person.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, but yes, it seemed like it was an outdoor life, mostly focused around the beach.
Okay, and this is in the 70s,
yes,
80s?
Yeah, 70s.
Right. Okay, that was a certain period of time, right, for beach life and hanging out.
Different than what we would know today. You'd get on your bike and grab your surfboard, and you're probably gone early morning till the street lights came on, which was the rule.
Yeah. I can't tell you how many people, including me, have, when I talk about their childhood, when the street lights come on, That is universal.
Yes.
I got to get home. The lights came on. That's it. Otherwise, my parents have no idea where I am or what I'm doing.
Correct.
Right. So when you weren't at the beach, what kind of student were you? Did you tell me about high school? What were you interested in? What did you like? Did you enjoy the academic part? Just what were you all about in those years?
I think I was a good student, not the top of the class, but good, involved, student council, a variety of different groups. And I'm fortunate that my parents were always civically involved. And I think that's what laid the groundwork for my eventual involvement in organizations in Tallahassee, is just seeing how they were involved and what they did and how they enjoyed it and how they met people.
So what did they do? I mean, specifically.
My mom was in a number of ladies groups and also in a performing group that did musicals. It's just she could sing very, very well. My dad was in local public service. He volunteered with the fire department and then became the vice mayor and eventual mayor of Melbourne Beach. Not a big metropolis, but
still the mayor's the mayor. Right?
Yeah, exactly. So that was fun. And even back then, I got involved with, there was a hunger walk, and they were raising money for some organization. And this was probably when I was in 9th or 10th grade. And I ended up, for Brevard County, being the largest fundraiser at that age for the organization. And that just kind of set the tone, I think, I didn't know it at the time, but looking back, that was a beginning point for serving others.
You graduate from high school, right? Do you have any plans on what you want to do after that? I know you ended up here at FSU, but was that your dream, or how did you figure all that out?
I had decided it was either Auburn or Florida State, and anywhere but University of Florida. Out of our graduating class, I think 80% went to UF, and the brave 5 of us came up to Tallahassee. And my original thought was, I will go get my government degree and go to law school. And I think that was what had been ingrained in my brain, so to speak. This is a good path, Right. And I finished my government degree and decided I had no desire for law school. And at the time, I was working at Capital City Bank and decided, okay, I got my finance degree. So course change, and that's what I ended up doing. Okay.
So you stayed, because initially you didn't think you were going to stay in Tallahassee, right?
No. And I got the job at the bank through a fraternity brother who said, do you want to work part-time in the afternoons as a teller? And I said, sure. That, your air conditioning, you're inside, you're, dealing with money. And that really led me to focusing on a finance degree and what that could mean. Interesting, keep it short story. When I finished school, I wanted to let the bank know, thank you. And so, like my father would have told me to do, is tell them that. So I went and spoke to Godfrey Smith at the time.
Wow.
Said, thank you for the opportunity to be and learn and do. And I had offers in Atlanta and Charlotte in banking. And he said, have you talked to anybody here? And I said, no, sir. And he picked up the phone and made a call, and there started my career.
Wow. So if Godfrey Smith picks up the phone and says, give this guy a job, pretty good chance you're going to get the job.
It worked out for me.
That's great. So, and, being a bank teller too, that is, I would imagine you developed relationships with people. You got to know them. You serve, that's talking about serving needs. That's a data back then. You couldn't just zap your money around. You needed to come to the bank, right?
Exactly. And you're 100% correct on that, Dave. that one-on-one with people that I had no clue who they were in Tallahassee, and I'm dealing with the Smiths, the Proctors, the Osleys, and like I said,
you're just a kid.
Yeah. And I'm just, okay, and I have to, I'm very grateful for what my parents taught me and hoped that I would do one day is be friendly and helpful and follow through, call people by name. And I did not realize what I was actually dealing with and the opportunities that it would lead to.
Yeah, that's amazing. So you ended up spending nearly 2 decades, right, with Capital City Bank.
Yes.
And worked your way up eventually to a vice president position.
Right. I was vice president in corporate banking, moved to the downtown office, and just a great time. Learned a lot. Again, like you said, the relationships with people. And at that point, as a commercial lender, you're affecting people's business and growth and affecting the community as well. I didn't think about it like that at the time, but it certainly was that.
Yeah. And those, even today, banking relationships are built on relationships, on
Indeed.
Trusting, knowing, you don't just, it's not just an application on paper. You have to know each other, right, for that to work well.
Yes, absolutely.
Right. Okay. So what did you learn? I know the relationship part, but did you really enjoy the banking part of it too? Did you, because it was a big chunk of your early career there. So were you a finance guy too, or just a relationship guy?
Good question. And the honest truth right here for you is I'm a relationship person. Mm-hmm. I was a banker and I did well as a banker, but it was the relationship. And literally, one of my larger clients at the time said, "You're too creative to be a banker." And I, kind of did the head tilt. And that led to an opportunity to join one of his companies. Big change, but it launched my marketing and PR career when I never expected that to happen.
All right, we're going to get to that in a minute, but we want to touch on a much more important thing that happened to you while you were at the bank. And that's that you met your wife Deborah there, right?
Yes, and the funny story there is Deborah was a trust officer at Barnett Bank, and Barnett and Capital City is like Democrats and Republicans at the time. They were friendly bankers, and one of my clients said, "I've got somebody you need to meet," and I said, "I don't need anybody's help meeting people." Typical Jim Hunt statement. And then he brought her picture in, and I said, "I'll call her," and I'll keep it short. But 3 months later, I called her and asked her out, and she said, "You were supposed to call me 3 months ago." But thus, Deborah and I met after our first date. We never quit dating. I was a bachelor. She had 2 young children that she was raising on her own. And so for me, that was a lot to think about and assimilate to. And we dated for about 2 years. And my best friend, fraternity brother, said, "You need to move forward." And I asked her December 12th. Before the end of the year, 31st would have been the deadline she had set. So, and I didn't know about that.
That's funny.
Yeah.
So tell us about her and your relationship and your partnership together through all these years of all the things that you've taken on as a couple.
Well, here's the funny thing is our wedding, she said, "You can do whatever you want." I said, "I want a wedding. I don't, and instead of bride and groom, it was Barnett and Capital City on which side of the church you were. And people kept saying,
"Are you green or red, white, and blue?"
Exactly.
Right.
And everybody said, "Oh, it's the banker's ball." And we had a great time. It was a great start for us. We took off for a week and went to the Cayman Islands, which I say to this day was probably the most fun we've ever had. And, our marriage, a lot of learning for me, like any parent, things I would change, but we're fortunate. Children are grown. Our son, Dallas, has 2 boys, and our daughter, Danielle, has a boy and a girl. So we're just lucky as can be. It made for a lot of civic involvement for us, and just a really good start to moving deeper in the Tallahassee community.
Yeah, that's great. And we'll be right back. I hope you're enjoying this episode of How I Got Here, which is recorded at Fiore Communications just down the hall from my office. If you want to start a podcast but aren't sure about what all's involved, our podcast launch package has you covered. We'll handle everything: concept, branding, first episode recording, editing and publishing. We'll even give you social templates to get your promotion started. Why wait any longer? Learn more at fiorecommunications.com/packages. And now back to the show. So you mentioned this a second ago, but in 1997, you did make a significant career pivot.
Yes.
Right? You left banking to lead an internet service provider at the very beginning of the commercial internet era. I remember I think that's when I met you for the first time.
Yes.
And I was like, I don't even know what you're talking about. Like, what do you mean? What is this, fast internet and connecting everything? And so how did you get there? I guess it was the creativity comment, right?
Yeah.
So tell us about how all that happened.
Obviously, I didn't realize what all I was getting into. Yes, I was learning about it, but you're talking at the advent of websites and the internet. Of course, I look back and go, well, maybe I should have accelerated a few things there.
Right.
And
the company was Electronet.
Electronet.
Right?
And one of the first high-speed internet providers. That was fun because we were learning as everybody else was, and helping clients get started. When people were paying, this is, like you say, back in the late 90s, and people were paying $1,500 a month for,
dial-up.
Yeah, great learning opportunity.
You were also involved in the TalTech Alliance. You were one of the 3 founders of the group, which is still going strong.
Yes, thank you. The chamber had a technology gathering, and probably about 200 people. And I happened to be sitting next to Rick Carney from Mainline Information Systems, and John Frazier, who was the Vice President of Research at FSU at the time. And I said, if we don't plan something, all this effort we're talking about today will fall off. Mm-hmm. And so the 3 of us got together and formed TalTech, and great help from people like Loran Osley and others to formulate and get it moving. And I'm so excited that it continues till today.
So what was the purpose at the time? What were you trying to accomplish?
Making sure that the entire community understood technology, and that there was, just like we said, a working alliance of vendors and people, not, like you would almost formulate any other association, but more community-minded for the good of the whole community.
Right. And I know it's broad because I've been a member of TalTech on and off for years, but you don't have to be in the weeds of technology to use the technology, to be part of the conversation, to understand how it impacts all our businesses, and want to understand it better so we can all use it more effectively.
Exactly. And like I say, the best testament is the organization still exists today. Right. And yes, direction has morphed and changed, and involvement, but that's natural with what's gone on in technology over the last couple decades.
Yeah, there's no way it'd be the same because technology's not the same, right?
Indeed.
Yes, it's not the same as last month.
True.
You're in the technology, you're building, those relationships, you're on TalTech, you're involved with the chamber, that's in your world, and then somehow you intersect and get into the PR communications world with More Communications Group, our good friends Karen and Clan over there, which is now known as the More Agency.
Correct.
So how did you get involved with More Communications, and what was that whole transition like?
Karen Moore and I went on a chamber trip to Madison, Wisconsin. And
a similar type city to Tallahassee.
Right, and they took a contingent of folks up there to go, let's see what Madison has done. You've got a university community that was growing in capital.
Capital.
And as only Karen Moore can do, we're standing outside of the bus waiting for something, and she says, I need a business development person, someone like a banker. And I just...
Knowing full well she was talking to you.
Yeah.
Right.
And that it wasn't immediate, but at the right time for me, I said, I need to talk to her. And I worked with the Moore Agency for 9 years. Terry Ard has become one of my very closest friends, in addition to being what I call one of the 5 smartest people I know.
Yeah, she does a great job.
Yeah, so that was fun.
Yeah. Okay, so and your role was same thing, building relationships, connecting needs and resources or needs and solutions, basically?
Exactly. Business development, the world of answering RFPs and doing that and, really starting to grow the agency collectively. It wasn't certainly me, but what clients align and one of the biggest victories that I recall was us winning the census. Charlie Crist was the governor, and the census RFP came out, and they had 10 different areas, and they said they would award them individually, and we won 7 of the 10.
Oh, wow.
Lot of work, but that was probably one of the most fun. And Dave, one of the things we did was we involved other agencies. We got Sean Pittman and his group take part of it. And it was bringing together what's best for the community to accomplish this goal for the state.
Yeah, I know, being in the business, that our great pride and excitement is seeing the success of our clients and being a small part of their impact and what they're doing. And there's a lot of satisfaction in that.
Absolutely.
You took a little detour at Coaxis for a little while, right? Another technology company. Right.
What that really entailed was helping Coaxis, who is a French-based company, based in France, move the opportunity to bring the highest speed internet at the time and cloud computing. So once again, I'm on the bleeding edge of things. And one of the coolest opportunities of that was shortly after I joined the organization, we had to go to France to pitch the board on what we were doing and what we were going to do. And no one over there spoke English. And I took French in junior high. That dates me back. But it certainly wasn't where I could converse. So that was a 3-hour presentation because we would speak in English. The interpreters would then turn around and share it with the team. A very successful meeting, spent a week there, and it was great to see an organization so far advanced at that time over in France and bringing that here to Tallahassee.
Right. All right. So your final agency stop was to be the COO at the 223 agency with Dustin Rivest.
Right.
Right. So how did you get there, and what was your role with 223?
Dustin and Christophe Reglat was the CEO at Coaxis. Dustin was doing some stuff with Coaxis and also Inspired Technologies. I don't know if you're great team of folks over there.
Craig Goodson, who I think he just retired or stepped down as CEO or something.
I think so.
Yep.
And Nick Ruda and the team over there. And, kind of the conversation I'd heard before. Hey, we need you. And so in 2018, apps were just getting started, and Dustin's company was growing like crazy, and I said, let's go. And it really morphed from being so much technology focused into, yes, the apps, but more marketing and PR. And when we became the 223 agency, when Dustin bought the building at 223 West Carolina Street. And
it was initially App Innovators, right?
It was
the first company name. Right?
And I think I think you may have been at Florida Sheriff's.
Yeah. And they were a client then, and they still are.
Yeah. So it was a fun time with the apps and the growth and the change, growing an organization, and that was fast and furious. The speed of change has not stopped since, I would say back to the LectureNet days. I mean, it's just been, like I said, catch that wave and ride it as long as you can. And I've been fortunate in that regard. And I've mentioned, and I've told Dustin and the team 2 months ago, here's my date. And they said, are you going to retire? I said, well, I'm going to do something different.
Yeah.
So new chapter ahead.
Okay. That sounds exciting.
It is.
So, Jim, as long as I've known you, you've been a caring part of the community and an encourager and a connector of people, which we've talked a lot about. But you've also done it in tangible ways with organizations. You chaired the United Way of the Big Bend and Leadership Tallahassee, served on the boards of the Chamber, Tallahassee Symphony, Red Cross, and others. So how did you prioritize those? How did you decide where to get involved, and why was that still always so important to you? Even as you got busier with your career and more with your family, you still always made time to give back through organizations that mattered to you. And how did you make all that happen?
Good fortune on many parts of it, and then just seeing how individuals can help collectively with other like-minded folks for various organizations positively impact our community. No desire to ever run for office, so the service lane was where I chose, and just fortunate. People like Margaret Lynn Duggar and I have become the best of friends through different organizations, as the same has happened with Leadership Tallahassee. And but I look back and think how very fortunate I have been. And you don't realize at the time what you're really doing collectively is making a big impact in the community.
Mm-hmm. And we'll be right back. How I Got Here is sponsored by Barano Heating and Air Conditioning in Tallahassee. I've been friends with Patrick Barano since we met in a Chamber Leads group about 15 years ago. I'll admit that I pursued him pretty hard to be his marketing firm and eventually won him over. And the reason I wanted to work with him is that I was already a customer and I knew what kind of company he and his father before him had built. He cares about his customers, he cares about his team, and he cares about this community. I've experienced Barano Heating and Air when they installed a complete system replacement a few years ago, and I enjoy peace of mind and same-day service with my Total Comfort Service Agreement. I've also been behind the scenes at their office and seen firsthand the true character of this company, and that's why we're so proud to represent them. To learn more or to schedule an appointment online anytime, visit baranoac.com. They really always will be there for you. And now back to the show. All right, so not just through the organizations, and I hope this doesn't embarrass you, but I want to include this part, You post encouragement on social media. You prioritize in-person interactions when you can. You are a cheerleader of people. And I just personally have always appreciated, you're always one of the first ones to say, way to go, Dave. Congrats, keep it up. And I know I'm not that special. You do it for a lot of people. And just, I just speak for all of us when I say how much I appreciate that. But again, it's not just organizations, it's personal. You personally invest in people and want to see the best in them and share that. Because it's okay to just think it, but you make it tangible, and so people receive that. So thank you for doing that. But
thank you.
I just want to, it takes time and it takes a commitment to stay in people's lives so that's authentic. People appreciate it because they know it's coming from your heart and it's real, and just want to see what's behind all that.
Thank you. Golly, that I'm honored for your words there. I have to go back to my parents. I watched my father always shake people's hand. My mother hugged people and sharing good words. And, if you have 5 kids, somebody's out of line. But there was always encouragement, involvement, and Tallahassee truly has given me so much. A lot of things we've already talked about. And I will, I've told Deborah, I want to continue to serve others the very best I can, and organizations, not quite as involved as I have been, but I want to give back to those that have given to me.
Faith is also clearly central to your life. You and Deborah are involved together in many ways, including active members of City Church, which focuses on outreach in the community a lot. So what role does your faith play in the way that you live out your life and engage with people?
Deborah grew up in the Pentecostal church. I grew up in the Lutheran church. and
you ended up at Southern Baptist Church.
Yeah. Which we did not know was Southern Baptist we had been going to City Church for, I would say, almost 5 years. And Pastor Dean said, so-and-so from the Southern Baptist Convention is coming to speak next week. And I looked at Deborah and said, do you know this was Baptist? and so, yes, City Church is a Southern Baptist church, but
not in the traditional way you think about it.
Yeah, you wouldn't see it or know it, nor is it pushed out that direction. And I think that goes from Dean's leadership. But we've been there a little over 10 years. The church is approaching, probably getting close to 20 years of existence, growing like crazy, and that's all God's blessing. Deborah, she does what I call her Mimi thing. She loves to serve in the kids, and it's hilarious. She's got a contingent of young ones that love her. I mean, they want to be around her. We've been involved in one of the city groups, which is a weekly Bible study, and that's people like Brian and Jerry Deloge and others in our group, and that's how City Church has grown, is those city groups where a big church like that, you've got small connections and tight connections.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned that you're entering a different phase here coming up, and just last November you launched Serve Strong, right, LLC. So what is that? And what are you trying to accomplish with it?
Good question, Dave. I ask myself that almost every day, but I've owned the domain servestrong.com for decades, and just something that hit me, and I wasn't sure how or what I was going to do. Literally late last year is like the tap of the Holy Spirit and said, it's go day.
Okay.
And so that's the day I went and incorporated, and Serve Strong, the short story there is, it is a leadership and strategic advisory. I'm not growing an agency. It's not marketing. It's PR. It is what I hope will be insightful observation, evaluation of organizations strategy? Are they looking at new markets? Are they facing challenges? And same with their leadership. And I see that as me being the conductor, so to speak, but I'm going to need a lot of people that do what they do and, may say, oh, gosh, you really need to hone in on this market and, maybe you should go talk to Fiore Communications and those kind of things. But I will not sit still. Deborah retired about 2.5 years ago, and I said, I'm ready to give up agency and grateful, but this is really my sweet spot for serving, I think.
And nonprofits, businesses, or what kind of groups are you looking to work with?
I would say I would expect mostly businesses, I think, is my main. Could be some not-for-profits. And without saying anything to anyone, people have referred individuals who own companies to me and saying, you need to talk to Jim Hunt. Didn't have any clue about what I was doing with Serve Strong or whatever, not referring them for marketing and PR. And, Terry Yard was one of those individuals, and she referred a company to me that became my first client, and big things are underway. So.
Yeah. Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
That sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun, and you get to kind of craft it the way you want it, right?
Yes. Yeah. I have to be careful who I work for and how I work, right?
Because it can get away from you. You can get pretty busy.
Yeah.
So, well, I wish you all the success.
Thank you.
Sure it'll be great. All right. 2 final questions. Jim, looking back, what is the one thing or person that changed the trajectory of your life to this point?
Deborah Hunt. She is, I'm fortunate, I'm sure like you, she's my best friend, my confidant. She's outspoken and she'll tell me, I don't know about this and beyond being a wife, she is, I can't remember. Yeah, there's always tough and things that go on, but I can't think about anybody better to have be married to and spend my life with.
That is a blessing.
Indeed.
Yes. All right, final question.
Okay.
The podcast is called How I Got Here. So we've talked about how you've gotten to this point in your life. Where do you think here might be for you in 3 to 5 years?
I would think that 3 to 5 year trajectory would be looking back at seeing client success, not because of me, but kind of like steering the ship, that if you keep the rudder in the right place, if you ever steer a boat, it doesn't take much to get you off course. And that's my gifting, is strategy and leadership, not necessarily meaning I'm the one to lead, but encouraging others and sharing from the things, the goodwill that I have experienced and also the tougher times that I have experienced. And I look forward to doing that.
Thanks for listening to the show. To find more great episodes or suggest a guest, visit tallypodcast.com. You can also follow or subscribe at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, and other major podcast platforms. While you're there, please leave us a rating and a review. Thank you for being part of the How I Got Here community.